he knew it was gas pipe that killed his father. All because of
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got the reality report, Craig Gatto. What's up, Craig?
Billy. How are you, my friend? What's a good word?
I'm doing great, man. I really
First of
appreciate you
all,
taking the time to come on my show.
the pleasure is all mine. Thank you for having me. Not too many people want to hear my story. Thank you.
Hey, man, I want to hear everyone's story. Everyone has a story,
That's
and
right.
people can learn from other people, you know?
Absolutely.
Definitely. So I've been on your show. We had a great time on
Good
that
time, too.
interview. And now the tables have turned,
Oh
man.
boy, I'm on a hot seat. I
Yeah,
love it.
man.
I love it.
So where were you born and raised? Before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you get all videos. And a link for his show will be in the description. Now let's get started. Where were you born and raised, man?
All right, so I'm born and raised in Flushing, Queens. But as a youngster, for a few years, young years, I spent a few years in the Bronx, but Flushing, Queens, born and raised, school, Flushing, Queens.
What was it like being a young man growing up in Queens? Was there a lot of things going
Well,
on in the neighborhood?
it's a great question. I grew up like right on that borderline of what's called White Zone, Queens, where um, Flushing was more of especially back in the 70s. Um, I was 8, 9 years old in the 70s. I'm born in 67, so I'm going to school in the 70s. But Flushing was more of a melting pot, um, kind of mixed. Some Italian, Irish, uh, Spanish, black. You had everything. But a few blocks down was a town called Whitestone, strictly Italian, some Greek. Um, and then you had Malba, which, was all the millionaire homes. As an offset of Whitestone. Then you went into College Point, which was your grinder, your hardcore uh, blue collar workers.
Yeah, like steel workers and
Yeah,
garbage
like
men and
and as a kid growing up, I identified more as a although I had a lot of love and family, good friends in Whitestone as I was growing, and wind up raising my children in Whitestone. But as a young kid, I played a lot of athletics for College Point. So those guys became like that was my second home, College Point, because I spent a lot of time playing football and whatever. And that was, that's the kind of neighborhood like you fought. Like I mean, everybody in College Point was
scrapper.
nobody ran. No, it wasn't the kind of neighborhood where they were going to say, "Hey, you do that again, I'm going to call my uncle." Do you know who my uncle is? It wasn't none of that in College Point. Whitestone, a little bit different. Whitestone had a lot of the Harlem connections. Whose father, whose grandfather was from Harlem, so it had a little bit more of that. Now there was truth to a lot of that, but as kids, I mean,
I
I
don't
could
care
tell,
who your father is or your
right. I mean,
grandfather, right?
I could tell you, I was taught. I'm one of four boys. Um, I was taught the first person that tells you you know who I am or you know who my uncle is, crack them. We'll worry about it later. Leave them. I mean, I'm not. Unfortunately, maybe we shouldn't be teaching 8-year-olds that, but that's how I was raised.
I mean, for someone to go around bragging who their grandparents or parents are,
But
they're starting a problem for
it's
those
kind of
people.
instilled in you. It's kind of That's just the way. So
Yeah.
College Point and Whitestone, although maybe a mile separates them, a mile and a half, always at war with each other until shit popped off at high school. And then a neighborhood like Corona, Queens, or other dudes that were coming in to Flushing High School, which was a high school. That's the only time Whitestone and College Point got together to handle another neighborhood. It was crazy, crazy time. Good time, crazy.
So who were some of the notable names in the neighborhood back then when you were growing up?
It's a great question. Again, I'm going to go back to all right. So if we're trying to like talk about the names that were considered, I'll use the word Harlem ties. A lot of the big names came out of Harlem. History tells us that.
French Connection.
Right. A lot of names came out of Harlem. Tony Ducks, Mr. Gribbs, Tough Tony Federici. Oh, he's a Corona guy, but he lives in Malba, which is an offset of Whitestone. It's same. It's right there. It's in between College Point and Whitestone. So, but everybody, I could tell you my childhood friends that were from Whitestone. There was somebody in their family. I don't care if it was their father, their uncle, that was in the life. And I'm not talking about just associated with the life. They were in the life. So It's hard not to grow up and be, even if you don't want to be, like I was an athlete. That's all I wanted to do, play ball.
Yeah.
But, you grow up seeing maybe your grandfather or your father, hypothetically, dressing a certain way, having, no exaggeration, 300 pairs of dress socks in every color and every shade, hundreds of ties, come and go as he pleases.
He was carrying
my mother not saying a word. That's just how it was. My father would call, and I'm not saying, this is just the way it was. My father would go out on a Friday night, call my mother Sunday morning and tell her. My mother's a saint. He would tell my mother, yeah, I'm going to be home in about an hour. Make sure, do me a favor. I don't even know if it said do me a favor. Get my swim trunks out and whatever t-shirt. I'm going to the beach. I'll be back tonight. And believe me, they were out.
And there was no argument about where have you been all weekend.
Of course, she's going to get fed up, and you hear things as kids. But I remember, and there's probably guys that that know me are going to laugh because they dealt with this in their house. And I can think of a few offhand. I just won't say their names, but no question, my mom every now and then would get her vigor up and say, that's it. And she would ask him whatever. And his answer was simple. I'll tell you what, when you get your gold shield, you could ask me a question. I'm not going to answer it, but you could ask it. Until then, don't ask. I'm not saying it's right. And I don't want to glorify the shit. We've had this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something you put out of your mind, especially as a kid. But there's that old saying, what is it? You lead by example, not by words. So, you could be told a million times, this is a bad life, it's a horrible life, stay in school, do the right thing, work hard. but you're still enamored by the fancy clothes, the money, the cars, and everybody sitting in the barbershop, social club, whatever they called it. And everybody seems like they love each other. It's like, even though you're a kid, it stays here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then
I had a different background. I looked up to the gang members like that.
yeah, all right. So
You know, the
same
older
shit,
gang members. That's
same
what I
shit,
looked
just
up to.
same
Yeah.
shit, just one crew dressed nicer.
Yeah. These kids were running around doing stupid shit.
Probably more
you know?
wild. Yeah, more wild. Not all, no
No
rules.
organization really in the beginning, but then it started getting crazy. But
Absolutely.
so
But
when do you hold resentments towards your father for not being around the way that
no, um, no, because I love my father to death. He was tough. I guess until I truly realized in life, and we talked about it a little bit, until I put God first in my life, which was some years back. But as a youngster, I idolized my father, even though he was tough. And I could go in, not just with my father, growing up. Um, I'm gonna keep it 1 million with you. Um, my biological mother took off. My father remarried a woman. I was 2 years old. That's a woman. Take responsibility. So I never. Yes, later in life there were questions that I never realized I had that came out in the wrong way, but I wasn't cheated out of a mother because I always had one. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
That other one, that's what she is. That other one, she lost sons. I didn't lose a mother. That's on her. The woman that raised me, she gained a family and made a family.
And she loved you just as much as if you
As
were
her
her
own.
biological.
Like she gave birth.
Yeah.
So, and she was the one that, would always win the bad report cards and trouble. And I wasn't in trouble as a kid, but I'm never great in school.
Here and there, just little things, right?
Yeah. She
The
was
average.
always would cover up, hide for us because my father wasn't a joke with that. And, it was a different time, different era, parents parented different in the 70s. There was no such thing as
Seatbelts.
talking back. Like, honestly, like if say you deserve the crack and you even in an Italian home, some people, maybe you'll get it. Some out there will understand. If you even went to pick up your hand to block the smack, oh, you want to raise your hands to me?
No, man.
It just made it worse.
Yeah.
So,
Or you laugh. Laugh.
Yeah.
Laugh. Be over when you start laughing.
Just a little tidbit. But again, as a youngster, all I wanted to do athletes, and I stayed away from trouble. I don't know if I was removed from school or just left. I forget. But either way, I didn't. High school, I struggled with math, couldn't get it, so I just stopped going.
Was there any big events that happened up until this point in your life that you remember, like outside events, like whether mafia type events that were going on in the streets? Were they killing people and leaving them in trunks around your neighborhood, or anything like that going on while you're growing up?
Okay, so again, I hate to keep beating on the Harlem thing, but you know, sometimes you come home, you're a kid. I could be 11 years old, 12 years old. I'm just, you know, trying to remember. So that would put us in late 70s, maybe early 80s, late 70s. And, you know, you might overhear somebody say, hey, you heard so and so, they haven't seen him in a few weeks. Or I won't mention a name. My father had a dear friend, I believe he knew from East Harlem. Um, I have plenty of friends out there that will know who I'm talking about if I say the name, but out of respect, I won't. I told you how, unfortunately, I can't do it.
No,
And
I totally understand.
and he's gone, and he's gone now. But I remember hearing, you know, you heard so and so. You know, not only did he know he was getting clipped, but the guys that were there to clip him, waited for him outside in front of his house in Whitestone, and he said goodbye to his wife, I believe, and knew what he was walking into. He said goodbye.
Just like the Spilatros knew what they were walking into. I have
Kind of like Sonny Black, you know, in that
Yeah.
Donnie Brasco thing. And this was a Whitestone guy, you know, he uprooted from Harlem. And then, you know, yeah, I mean, I just because, you know, I told you, you know, due to a lot of reasons, that's just not me, my style. I could give you, you know, a lot of different names that.
You don't have to name them,
No,
but
no, no.
were there murders going on in the neighborhood around where you were from? And
I'm more than sure there's a few. Oh, I'll give you one. Okay. And this is public knowledge, so I could say the name. And he, at one time, a good friend of mine. And not that we've ever had a falling out. It's just, you know, sometimes in life you just don't see each other for a long time.
Yeah.
His dad was the president of the business manager of the Paper Hangers Union. There was a scam many years ago with gas pipe. It was called the Windows scam, I think they called it. And gas pipe was a paranoid creep, you know, psychopath, serial killer, no different. That's what he was. He just wanted to label out of paranoia everybody a rat. My man, touche. And my friend's father was found in a place called Le Havre, which is part of Whitestone. I was just sad, you know, I was tough because we knew you know, everybody kind of, you know, was close in the neighborhood. And when you hear your age, you hear what happened to Mr. Bishop. And then, you know, years later, when I ran into my friend, I'm talking years later, he knew it was gas pipe that killed his father. All because of they put rat wires on people. We read it, we see it all the time. Look, it's a treacherous. Look, God saved me in many ways because I don't glorify the crap. I was enamored by it, but I was saved from that. And then realized it for what it was. You're only as good as your last dime. The people that you think love you in that life, that hug and kiss you at their kid's christening, they only care about what size envelope you gave. And you're only as good as your last envelope. And by nature, my nature, I'm not special, but what I'm saying by nature, I'm a giver, not a taker. I'd like to think God has blessed me with a good heart. So anytime I did something wrong, I knew it. I felt it, and I didn't like the feeling. And I'm talking to
You have a
thank God,
conscience.
and thank God I never nothing serious. Well, what would be considered serious? But I don't care what it is. I don't want to glorify any of this shit. I don't care if it's just giving a message. Straighten this out. You're
That's the
still doing
reason.
something.
That's
You're
the
doing something.
reason why I go after certain cooperators. All cooperators don't act the way I go after these people I go after. The reason I go after them is because they act like they're still in the mafia.
Well, that's sad for them. That's that's on them. I could hold my head up high. Now let me full disclosure. There's a big misnomer, I think, in this whole mob genre about a lot of people not understanding. And unfortunately, it's only the guys maybe that have these shows that are cooperators that will understand what I'm saying. Unless, you got guys out there that haven't cooperated that understand. You're only as good as if you're on record or around a guy that was groomed the wrong way, he will treat you like a dog.